For parents, it's about truly understanding the connection between life and sport. You gotta let kids be kids. Let them have fun. Help them find their own way. When those answers becomes things that they find on their own, it's something that they own versus us telling them what they should be doing or telling them what they should be feeling. Just go out and have fun with them, right? Just be imaginative. Give her the ball and say, listen, you got 10 seconds left. I'll count down from 10. Hit a game-winning shot. Things like that. Sport is the greatest metaphor that we have for life, and it's important that we treat it as such.
Oh man, how many kids in their own driveway counting down from 10 and pretending to be Kobe, and Kobe's doing it with his own daughter. It is that Kobe, the father, that so many people have come here to mourn. You see people milling around the plaza. We're looking over it right now, right outside the Staples Center, and we'll show you throughout the show just the mounds of flowers and posters and heartfelt messages that people are leaving for Kobe Bryant, his daughter Gianna, and the entire Bryant family. They have giant boards set up for people to write, and they can't bring out new ones fast enough. They're all getting covered up. I do think, and we talked about it a little bit in that last segment, it is his connection to Gigi that has touched an even more raw nerve than if this had happened with just him. And I want to get back to the fact that he coached her team. We know that kids of basketball players play basketball. That's happened a lot through the years. We have multi-generational NBA families in the league. But this idea of the players actually coaching their kids, it feels like it's risen. And Matt, you coach your sons.
Right.
What interactions did you have with Kobe, the coach dad, with you being the coach dad?
I mean, that's where we saw each other a lot. We'd probably see each other every 2 weeks at a tournament. His daughter's 12 or 13, or she was 13. The boys are 11. So Kobe would always make an effort to come out there and watch my kids play. And they would go crazy, like, they would see Kobe over there, and the game would rise. But just to see him, and we talked about it on my podcast, that was one of the things I asked him about, was coaching her. And he said the love that Gigi found for the game gave him the love back to the game, to start watching the game and taking her to games and get back involved in it. But to see him on the sideline, and the courts had to be roped off because everyone just wanted to get a look at him and see how amazing his daughter was and how amazing their team was. Their team was amazing. But he was a drill sergeant, just like Kobe we played with. I'm like, how often you guys practice? Like, we try to practice once a week. Oh, no, 5 days a week. 5 days a week.
He was running his 13-year-old girls team through 5-day-a-week practices?
They ran the triangle. These 13-year-old girls ran the triangle. You know what I mean? So to see him, but we also, I'm going to refer to my podcast.
Did they get it better than the Knicks did when Phil Jackson tried to institute it there?
They ran it to a T, but I refer to my podcast a lot because we just spoke. But I asked
and we'll play a little bit of it later in the show.
Yeah,
for sure.
I asked him about it, and the one thing he said was, as he mentioned that last clip, he sat back with his coaches and asked questions. He liked his girls and his teams to figure out stuff on their own, because when they figure it out on their own, similar how Phil Jackson used to never call timeouts, we would be getting blown out. He wanted us to figure it out.
Right.
Kobe carried that over to coaching because he figured once they get it, it's ingrained in them instead of us having to tell them. So he said we probably could have won more games, although I don't really recall them losing that much.
Right.
He would allow his girls to sit back out there and go out there and figure it out on their own, because that's when it really becomes ingrained in their minds.
I want to know, did your teams, do they run the baseline out of bounds ball fake? Has that happened yet?
We haven't implemented that yet, but it definitely could. In his honor, we may be able to implement that.
But also, did you see a different side of Kobe in that setting?
When he spoke, when Kobe's very passionate, but you can tell when he's very in love and passionate about something, his mannerisms, his tone, his eyes, everything changes. So when he spoke on Gigi and the love he had for her picking up the game and picking it up fast, and the love he had for those other girls, it was a different kind of conversation. Like, you really gravitated and listened to it, because he had anything he was passionate, he put his absolute all in, and coaching his daughter was one of those things.
And he was very competitive about his daughter's game. He got in a little hot water, I think it was last year, for a social media post where he was basically encouraging that his kids had run up the score on another team because that other team had beaten them so handily a year or so before. I think they beat in the latest game, his girls beat the other team by 100 points. And he got a little flack for that, but that was Kobe Bryant, right?
I mean, I remember him years ago watching the college football national championship game, and I think it was Alabama was playing Florida State perhaps, and there was a fight between Alabama players, a little bickering, and he loved it.
Right.
He said that's what you need. Like, it's the heat of battle. Everything's on the line. You have to stick up for your teammate and do what you're supposed to do your job, and that was music to his ears to see that, because then they got it right and executed.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, Kobe the dad. If that's our lasting memory of him, I think that's okay.